Hello everyone, my name is Amanda Nesheiwat and I have been a resident in Secaucus for the past 22 years. I worked for the town of Secaucus for 9 years, starting in 2011, and I recently just moved on to another job with the Hudson County Improvement Authority as their Deputy Director of Sustainability and Community Outreach. When I first started working for Secaucus, I remember a lot of people coming up to me that have been here for years and years and generations to tell me about these horrific stories about the environmental pollution that existed in our town, whether it be the river or glow-in-the-dark park, or all these different types of strange reptiles and creatures that everyone thought was, because of toxic sludge in the area. And so it really is an extraordinary thing to hear what our riverkeeper spoke about earlier, that we decided that that was wrong and that the ecosystem that is so precious, that we are so lucky to have in our backyard, really needed the help. And so we came together as a community under the right leadership and really fought to protect and preserve our natural resources, especially our meadowlands, which are, as we all know, I think such an iconic piece of our lives and our community. Presently, Secaucus has been through a lot, and presently we are an award-winning sustainable community. We are recognized by Sustainable Jersey as being a silver certified community, and we also received an Environmental Achievement Award from the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions for a few of our initiatives, including the banning of styrofoam, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. So when I first started working for Secaucus, I was working part-time because I was going to college full-time. And one of the first projects that we ended up working on was a community garden. And it was on top of a park, which has a reputation for, like I said, being glow-in-the-dark park. I hate to even mention it again, but it was remediated and used to be I think they called it the Keystone site because it had a lot of pollutants back in the day. But it was basically filled in and was made into a really nice, pretty park on Humboldt Street and Radall Avenue. And so the mayor really wanted to do a community garden, and we ended up choosing that site. And it was the first time that I got to work with different stakeholders in the community, like Home Depot and the Senior Gardening Club and a few of the teachers at our elementary schools, to create a community garden that everybody can come and plant whatever it is that they'd like to. And it really inspired me after seeing it completed and after seeing the excitement from the community. It really inspired me to continue to do more projects with the community. And the really awesome thing is that our mayor, Mike Nelly, and town council are very, very supportive of environmental and sustainability projects. So we actually did more community projects, such as our Green Festival, where we get to celebrate all of our achievements and talk about how we can improve our environment in Secaucus and throughout New Jersey, which we have down at the Exchange, usually every first Saturday of May. It's fully sponsored by our most kind sponsor, Secaucus Exchange. And we also have other types of smaller community programs, like our speaker series, which we have usually in the summertime throughout the month of July, or our environmental camp. The mayor actually really loves the idea of educating younger generations, and is very, very for any projects that can include children and educating them about how we should protect the environment and how they can grow up to be environmental stewards. And so we created the environmental camp that actually brought together a few dozen students in Secaucus for a week long, basically, teach them about the environment and things like food waste and how to farm and all the different endangered species and how they can actually become environmental stewards and teach their friends and their family to do the same. So obviously, the natural wildlife that we have in Secaucus is really important to all of us, especially to the mayor and town council. So one of the great projects that we launched to protect and preserve our pollinators was our Pollinator Program. And many people don't know this, but we actually have over 80,000 honeybees, probably more at this point, in Secaucus, down where the animal shelter is. It's in an area where you can't really visit. It's a no trespassing zone for now. But the amazing thing is that these honeybees, they flourish. They absolutely love the different trees and flowers and grasses that are in the meadowlands. And they provide us with so much honey every year that we're able to sell between 150 to 200 pounds of honey every year. And Secaucus residents really look forward to when we start to harvest that honey, which is usually in September, October, around now actually, to be able to sell it and give them out as gifts for the holidays. So stay tuned for that. We also have a program that is part of our Pollinator Program to put meadow flowers around town. And really this effort is to sort of strip away some of this, the grass that we have everywhere in town. You know, grass is very sterile and it's not exactly a very environmentally friendly plant. I know that people get very, obsessive about how their lawns look and, how green they are, but really they're not a very environmentally friendly plant. What we really should be planting are things like natural, native grasses and different types of pollinator-friendly plants. And so we actually have a butterfly garden that is now at Monarch Park. Actually, there was a butterfly garden before it became Monarch Park, so I believe the name of the park was inspired by our butterfly garden, which is frequented by even some rare butterflies and caterpillars that you probably haven't seen before, so go check it out. But we're also doing meadow flower programs, hopefully throughout the entire town. We have one pilot program that is down by the Shell station that you can actually see on Route 3 before you get into Secaucus. And of course, we have a lot of programs for our birds. We have a lot of different kinds of birdhouses that we place around town. The Hackensack Riverkeeper is also very involved with putting little birdhouses for things like swallows and sparrows. And bats. So, nobody really cares about bats nowadays, I don't think, because people are very afraid of them. But they are such an important pollinator, especially for us here in the Meadowlands. So we are trying to kind of bring them back. I heard that there was a lot of bats when people were younger in town, when they were children, and we're trying to bring them back. So we have a few bat houses that are placed around town. Maybe you can go and find them. They're kind of strange looking flat boxes, and they're on 12-foot poles, so maybe you can go out and find them. And we're actually looking for, residents who would be interested in putting bat houses on the side of their homes. So hopefully we'll continue that program in the future. A lot of the initiatives that we actually came up with over the past almost decade really came from the need of trying to reduce the amount of resources that we use as a community, but also to save money. And when I first started working for Secaucus, there was this idea that if you wanted to go green as a household or as a community, that you needed to spend a lot of money. And that's actually not true. And we were able to prove that in Secaucus, which is really, really awesome, because now I'm moving on to helping other communities in Hudson County do similar types of projects. So the first project that I could talk about economic as well as environmental benefits is when we purchased electric vehicles for our fleet. So we found out after doing a fleet inventory to understand how many cars we have in our fleet and how much they cost, that a single police vehicle cost us between $600 to $800 a month for gasoline. You think about it, they're a lot of times they have to idle to keep their equipment on. They're constantly driving around to protect our community. And so we thought it would be a great idea to go electric because we can save money on gas and things like other maintenance that needs to happen for, an engine-powered vehicle. We purchased 2 electric vehicles, and we were able to do so through a recycling tonnage grant, which we receive every year based off of how great how well we recycle. And we were able to basically run these electric vehicles for about $40 a month because of the cost of energy that was, that is produced to the low cost of energy that was produced to basically power up these vehicles. 30% of the energy that went into the electric vehicles actually was from our solar panels, which is pretty cool because we have solar panels right now on 3 of our municipal buildings and a few of our schools. The cool thing about this is that when we bought electric vehicles, we realized that we had to also buy charging stations. And we thought maybe we shouldn't just buy charging stations just for our fleet. We should extend the invitation to get electric vehicles for everyone in the town of Secaucus. So we actually worked with the DEP. They had a program, the Department of Environmental Protection. They had a program it's called It Pays to Plug In. And they had a program to basically give us grant money to fully cover the cost of purchasing an electric vehicle charging station. And so we actually have 3 electric vehicle charging stations that are public in town, one at the Secaucus Library, one at the North End parking lot in front of Huber Street School on Patterson Plank Road, and the other at the Recreation Center on Coley Boulevard. And when we first got these charging stations, I remember our mayor and council thinking that it wasn't really going to be that used because we don't really see a lot of electric vehicles in town. But over the past 3 years, we've seen the amount of electric vehicles actually triple in number. So we really think that it's due to the fact that we're reducing range anxiety by introducing charging stations. And they are used so often that I have a plug-in now, a hybrid, and it's actually hard for me to find a charging station in town that's open for me to plug my car in. So I think it's working very, very well. We also have a really great program that we all should be proud of because we all participate in it every single week, which is our recycling program. Our recycling rate is actually the highest in Hudson County, and we really have the mayor and Department of Public Works to thank because they do a lot of really great programs and education programs that the environmental department really helped with getting the word out about. And, Mayor Ganelli really cared about, waste issues and really understood how important recycling was and understood how important it was to educate young people because young people go back to their homes and tell their parents how to recycle and how to better recycle. And so I think that's the reason why we have such a high recycling rate. But of course, we have a lot of work to do with our recycling. And there is another video that will be up on Secaucus Public Library's Facebook page talking specifically about recycling better and recycling contamination. So another aspect of a community that's really important to pay attention to when you're trying to become a more sustainable community is energy. Secaucus has always been very aware of climate change, I think, especially after Hurricane Sandy. We recognized that we are a floodplain prone community, and we really need to take it seriously because climate change will increase the amount of extreme weather events and flooding events that we are going to be experiencing. And it's only going to get worse if we don't do something about it. And so our mayor actually is very vocal about about climate change and how we should all be trying to figure out solutions to climate change. And so we decided to launch this year, a couple of years ago, called the Year of Climate Action, where we focused specifically on introducing renewable energy projects, introducing energy efficiency projects, and trying to get a handle on how much energy our community uses, not just municipal use of energy, but also residential and corporate. We actually did figure out that number so that we can hopefully in the future come up with a climate action plan that our community could all be, everyone in the community could really be a part of. But just to give you a little bit of info on what we did that year, we actually expanded upon the energy efficiency projects that we were doing. So right now we chose 5 municipal buildings to work on energy efficiency updates on these buildings. So a lot of government buildings are pretty old, and these buildings in particular were fairly old. And we wanted to make sure that we upgraded it as much as possible because we were using a lot of energy to power up these buildings. And now, of course, we do it through a program that actually that the State Board of Public Utilities allows us to use, where we can actually take a government bond, sort of like a government loan, a low-interest loan, to make these fabulous upgrades, and the cost savings that we have in our energy bills every month will pay back the bond. So that means that we don't even have to raise taxpayers' money to do these really, extensive and could be expensive energy upgrades. So it's a really great program that more governments really should take advantage of. And Secaucus was, very supportive of that program from the beginning. So we've actually become sort of a leader in the state, specifically for this kind of program. And we also are participating in community solar projects. And again, this is something that we're kind of early adopters for in Secaucus. Community solar is basically a way for residents to subscribe to local solar projects, solar energy projects. So we have a lot of warehouse roofs in Secaucus, and luckily Hartz Mountain has partnered with the state of New Jersey as well as solar companies in the area, as well as Secaucus, to put solar on their warehouses so that residents can actually subscribe to that solar energy, which actually increases the solar demand and, kind of increases solar markets. In a way, it kind of offsets the energy that they use from the grid, so that we can actually put more and more community solar projects throughout the town of Secaucus. And I believe there are actually more community solar projects coming. As Secaucus continues to grow, we are seeing more warehouses filled with offices, and we are seeing more businesses and restaurants coming into town. And we are very supportive of working with these stakeholders to include them in initiatives that we really care about. So for instance, every summertime, usually, summer to fall, or spring through fall, I should say, we do a lot of corporate cleanups. So we bring our corporate community together and we do cleanups all around town. And we also include them in projects like our environmental camp, like our Pollinator Program, so that, they can really take part in, being a great, participant in the community. And we also have this really cool program that's relatively new, and it's called the Green Restaurant Certification Program, or Green Business Certification Program. And basically, it's a way of highlighting all of the wonderful work that the businesses of our community do to protect the environment and to increase the well-being of residents that live in town. And so basically to be a part of that program, you take a survey, and if you do things like, having LED light bulbs in your restaurant, or, not using a plastic bag, or not using styrofoam, then you actually get a certain amount of points, get a sticker in your window, and then the town of Secaucus will frequently tell residents to, go and, spend money basically at these restaurants and businesses that are green certified with us. So it's just a way of giving back to our wonderful, awesome businesses that are doing so much work to be a great, a stakeholder in Secaucus. And then most recently, we banned the use of plastic bags, and we banned styrofoam many years ago, actually, which we're still working on. But we banned plastic bags, and this was really an effort to not only fix our recycling contamination, because many people throw plastic bags in recycling bins and they shouldn't belong there. They don't belong there. But also, we did a lot of cleanups with the Riverkeeper and with our corporate sponsors, and we would constantly find plastic water bottles and plastic bags, and also pieces of styrofoam as well, styrofoam cups, styrofoam shells. And so we knew that it was a really important thing for us to do. The state was moving ahead with this initiative, and many other communities in Hudson County were already starting to do it. And so I think in the beginning it was sort of hard for people to adjust, but now I think it's very normal, and it's going to be more normal throughout the state. And it's just one small way that we can really give back to our environment, is just to remember a reusable bag. I'm really looking forward to what is going to happen in the future of Secaucus. We actually have new leadership in the environmental department. We have a new environmental coordinator. Her name is Jenny Schneider, and you're going to be hopefully hearing from her soon. She's very, very interested in doing things related to alleviating flooding issues and becoming a more resilient community. Specifically interested in stormwater management and green infrastructure, which is a really, really cool topic that we really didn't work too much on when I was the environmental director here. So I'm really excited to see what she's going to do with that. But I think the future of communities in Hudson County, and especially here in Secaucus, is really going to be about pushing towards a more zero waste community. We are running out of landfill space, and we really are, becoming very inefficient with the way that we reuse our resources. And so I think a zero waste community is kind of, my vision for Secaucus. Basically separating food waste and composting it, and recycling plastic as much as possible, and glass and aluminum as much as possible, and limiting the amount of trash that we throw into our trash bin and into a landfill. So hopefully that will happen. And then what I really hope to see in Secaucus is a full climate action plan that all departments within the town of Secaucus, from the police department to HR to engineering and construction to recreation and the environmental department, of course, can all work on simultaneously in collaboration, so that we can achieve a zero emissions community, to reduce our emissions so that we can contribute less to climate change and hopefully protect and preserve our planet and our community for future generations. Thank you.